The apocalypse started. World-ending beasts spawned one after another. Then every survivor woke inside the massive tutorial arena. System screens appeared above a few people. Only the blessed received powers. Names, ranks, and powers formed on the chosen screens. High-rank skills gave the crowd something to trust. S-rank flames, healing light, and gravity weapons drew followers. Cashin Voss raised fire and the crowd cheered. Mir Sol healed a child with healing light. Then Ren Vale's own panel appeared over his head. It called him an F-rank tutorial editor. The description said he could modify active tutorial elements. For one moment, nobody understood what that meant. The laughter spread through the shelter faster than fear. Lyric Vane smiled, as if Ren had become entertainment. To them, editing sounded useless after the apocalypse started. Ren stayed silent and studied the corner of his panel. A cursor blinked beside his skill description. The hidden command said editing was available. Before Ren touched it, the shelter wall cracked open. An armored wolf bus forced itself into the hall. Its label said damage was locked until the lesson began. Cashin struck first, but his flame shattered harmlessly away. A gravity spear failed, and the crowd fell back screaming. The boss lowered its head directly toward Ren. Ren looked at the cursor, then touched it. An active tutorial entity menu opened in front of him. The wolf boss was currently classified as a tutorial boss. Ren selected Practice Dummy from the available entity types. The monster froze before its lunge could finish. Its armor folded, claws shrank, and eyes dulled. The lethal boss became a practice target. The hall went completely silent around Ren. Ren picked up a starter knife and threw once. The blade struck the target's marked circle. The practice dummy split apart under the tutorial rules. The system confirmed first boss clear and solo bonus. 10 beginner overachievement chests dropped around Ren. Everyone who mocked him stared at the broken dummy. Cashin's flame faded and Lyric's smile disappeared. Ren looked from the chests back to his panel. The cursor was still waiting beside his skill. That was when Ren understood his first truth. He was not strong because he fought the tutorial. He was strong because the tutorial obeyed labels. Lyric moved first, backed by 2 armored friends. He claimed the rewards belonged to humanity, not an F-rank. Ren opened the reward window beside the nearest chest. The ownership field still read Public Claim. Ren changed one word to Tutorial Editor. A barrier snapped around every reward chest. Lyric's hand bounced away while his allies froze. The crowd watched Ren claim all 10 chests remotely. Food, medicine, skill stones, coins, and armor entered his inventory. Mockery became whispering when his supplies filled the panel. Lyric's pride could not survive that public silence. He challenged Ren to a system-accepted duel. A duel circle formed, and Lyric drew his sword. Ren opened the duel settings before the strike began. Real combat became beginner demonstration. Lyric's sword changed into a padded training blade. It tapped Ren instead of cutting him. A system message ordered Lyric to reset his stance. Ren tapped Lyric's chest with the wooden knife. The system confirmed practice victory and recorded the movement. Lyric dropped to one knee in forced defeat. The tutorial muted him for disrupting the lesson. This time, nobody in the shelter laughed. Dozens of players rushed Ren for supplies and control. Ren opened a crowd management tab that should not exist. Active participants became waiting participants with required queue behavior. Every attacker froze and slid into a neat line. Their weapons lowered under messages asking them to wait. The entire hall watched the mob become a queue. Ren looked past them toward the next objective window. The tutorial objective was to survive 30 minutes. The shelter doors opened against thousands of waiting monsters. Mothers pulled children back while strong players shoved forward. Ren understood the objective would cause panic before battle. He opened the objective editor and changed its purpose. Survive 30 minutes became learn basic shelter rules. The monster wave stopped and the shelter doors sealed. Lesson screens dropped in front of every player. The system explained safe zones, inventories, food, and parties. Ren had not defeated the wave, he redefined it. Then the tutorial pushed back with a warning. The wave could not be cancelled while extinction pressure remained. The doors opened again, and the monsters began moving. Ren opened the enemy wave panel without hesitation. Extinction wave became combat demonstration. Kill players became display attack patterns. Authentic difficulty became beginner difficulty. The monsters crossed the threshold and stopped in formation. Weak points, arrows, and dodge paths appeared around them. The apocalypse had become a classroom. Still, the humans were too afraid to move. Cashin clenched fire while civilians shook behind him. Ren opened the penalty editor for pain and death. Real pain became reduced pain. Permanent death became training knockout. Authentic injuries became lesson recovery. A C-rank spear user attacked and was knocked back. He vanished inside a barrier, then reappeared restored. The system recorded training failure and awarded stat growth. The crowd saw survival become possible. Then the first students finally moved. Humanity's first apocalypse hour became an F-rank training session. That was when Darius Kale stepped forward. Darius commanded a disciplined player block. His S-rank command banner gave his voice authority. He argued Ren's power was too dangerous for one person. Half the shelter nodded because their fear made sense. Ren opened the social overlay above Darius. The panel exposed hidden intent, established resource monopoly. Ren changed the hidden classification into visible public evidence. Darius's voice cut out before the entire hall. His private orders appeared above him as truth text. They planned to secure food, healers, exits, and remove Ren. The hall turned against Darius in a single breath. Ren did not punish him. He edited leadership permission. Public leadership became conditional on verified survival contribution. Darius could still lead, but only by helping. The next attack came disguised as paperwork. Darius's faction presented a contract to bind Ren. It controlled his rewards, decisions, and editing access. Some people wanted him controlled because freedom felt dangerous. Ren enabled beginner safety review on the contract. Chains snapped from the parchment. System stamps marked unsafe agreement, exploitative terms, and penalty clauses. Half the faction's treasury vanished into system penalties. A compensation chest appeared beside Ren. Ren claimed it and distributed medicine to injured non-combatants. The crowd understood he could have kept everything. Instead, he proved control was not his only instinct. The tutorial shop opened after the first training phase. Most players saw food, cloth armor, and cheap weapons. Ren saw locked instructor doors behind the interface. The hidden labels named debug storage and emergency caches. He edited his own status into tutorial user. The hidden shop opened under system light. Potions, keys, barriers, manuals, and artifacts filled it. Some items cost more coins than the shelter possessed. Ren changed premium starter weapons into beginner supplies. Million-coin blades dropped to 1 coin. Boss-blocking shields dropped low enough to buy. Training crystals became educational materials. Ren bought until the inventory limit appeared. He found the storage lesson and raised backpack management. His inventory expanded into an instructor-level grid. The shopkeeper NPC twitched like its script had broken. Ren changed duplicate starter swords into fusion materials. Hundreds of beginner blades dissolved into one weapon. The system hesitated before naming it Beginner King Arsenal. Its rank displayed as undefined. Nearby players backed away from the impossible starter weapon. The absurdity was simple. Beginner gear had become authority. That contradiction triggered the tutorial instructor. An armored figure descended through system light. Tutorial instructor Lyceum arrived as a level 999 executor. Its execution sword was built from pure system text. Every player hit the floor under its pressure. Even Cashin's flames died, and Mir could not rise. Ren stood because the pressure was tutorial discipline, and discipline still carried an editable label. He opened Lyceum's NPC role panel. Punishment Executor became beginner support staff. The execution sword folded into a pointer stick. Lyceum landed and welcomed players in calm instructional cadence. The shelter stayed silent before the rewritten enforcer. Ren asked the instructor about restricted menus. Lyceum explained, and hidden tabs flickered into view. Zone Editor, Reward Editor, Quest Editor, and more appeared. Ren selected Display Hidden Tutorial Tools. The full structure of the tutorial became visible. Before, Ren edited active events. Now he could edit the systems beneath them. The shelter timer became the next crisis. The countdown suddenly dropped from 24 hours to 1. The shelter still intended to expire on uncleared players. Outside, cities had worsened beneath gates and monsters. Fear returned as millions watched the wall screens. Ren opened Zone Editor and rewrote shelter duration. 24 hours became until tutorial completion. Clear Wave 1 became clear all apocalypse phases. The countdown stopped above the hall. The shelter walls stabilized from floor to ceiling. Every player received safe zone stabilization updates. People dropped to their knees without system force. Ren had stopped humanity from being thrown outside. Then the monsters reacted against the shelter wall. Wolves, crawlers, insects, and giants crowded beyond the barrier. The problem was that outside monsters were not tutorial objects. Ren could not edit them directly, so Ren edited the tutorial area instead. Shelter interior expanded to shelter exterior, 500 meters. A grid rolled over roads, snow, and monsters. Labels appeared above every creature inside the expanded area. Levels, weak points, and drop tables became readable. The apocalypse had become a visible interface. Ren changed extinction threats into training mobs. Players stepped outside under shields for controlled combat. They struck weak points, retreated, healed, and returned stronger. Fear became rhythm, and rhythm became leveling. S-rank players tried acting alone for superior rewards. Ren changed formation compliance from optional to required. Their reward panels grayed out until they obeyed formations. One rule succeeded where speeches had failed. Even S-ranks returned to position. The first assassination attempt arrived during the third wave. A stealth player slipped behind Ren with a raised dagger. Ren opened the attack label at his throat. Fatal strike became training mistake. The dagger turned translucent and passed through Ren harmlessly. The stunned assassin froze as movement data was archived. Ren had converted the attempt into a lesson. That gave him a new idea for hostile skills. Cashin hurled Flame Emperor burst directly at Ren. Ren tagged the attack and changed its classification. The hostile skill became lesson material. Fire stopped midair under a diagram. Range, cooldown, mana strain, and counters appeared above it. Cashin stared as his power became homework. Ice and gravity attacks followed, then separated into demonstrations. Ren watched elemental interactions replay in tutorial layers. He learned their counters faster than they understood their skills. Then the system adapted against him. Skill labels vanished under balance restrictions. The crowd panicked as weakness markers disappeared. High-ranked players smiled, thinking Ren's advantage had ended. Ren opened UI mode and changed player view. Instructor view restored every label with deeper information. Cooldowns, hidden costs, thresholds, and evolution paths appeared. Balance had tried to blind him. Instead, it gave him better eyes. That triggered the first true patch. Patch notes covered the shelter sky. Edit range, definitions, expansion, and rewards were locked. Ren's panels vanished one by one. For 3 seconds, he stood without menus. Lyceum mentioned previous builds could restore instructional errors. Ren opened version history and selected the previous build. The patch notes reversed upward into the sky. His panels returned with a new version control tab. Ren could now undo the system's corrections. The monster crossed the grid without a tutorial label. It moved through system light as a non-tutorial entity. Direct editing failed in front of the watching crowd. Fear spread faster than the beast. Ren looked at the floor beneath it instead. He changed the arena floor into trap demonstration terrain. Pits opened, but the creature climbed out. Ren changed the ground into a beginner gravity lesson. The beast slammed down, pinned by the environment. Ren learned that blocked enemies could still be contained. If he could not edit the monster, he edited the world. The shelter understood there might be no clear counter. That realization made fear of Ren grow. Some leaders began plotting against the one editor. Ren found their hidden strategy session in social logs. He changed it into a public tutorial replay. The shelter screens displayed the conspiracy as text. Ren did not imprison the conspirators. He changed their unauthorized escape into a survival exam. They were sent outside along a shielded route. Their failed conspiracy became a useful public lesson. Then the first extinction boss appeared. A corpse titan with a crown broke the barrier. The tutorial grid shook as even Ren's menus lagged. The system called it Phase 1 Calamity. Ren renamed the calamity into Final Lesson Boss. The titan paused as phase warnings appeared. Attack cones, safe zones, and weak points emerged. Players attacked, but the health bar barely moved. Ren changed beginner damage into adaptive learning. Every failed strike made the next attempt more effective. Weak players, healers, builders, and scouts all gained value. The Titan entered rage mode. Ren renamed it Phase 2 Demonstration. The boss slowed just enough for arrows to appear. Humanity fought as a single class. The system tried giving the boss core to the top damage dealer. Cash-in led by raw power alone. Ren changed contribution rules to include tutorial stabilization. Ren's contribution rose to the top. The boss core floated into his hand. His skill evolved before the entire shelter. Tutorial editor became tutorial command console. His rank flickered until only question marks remained. Ren created a simulation copy inside the new console. The system warned that simulation violated tutorial integrity. Ren renamed the copy Beginner Preview. The warning disappeared, and testing became possible. He previewed flying monsters bypassing the walls. Before they arrived, he created anti-air basics. Platforms rose, and auto-aim diagrams guided ranged players. The flying wave became target practice. Mobility crystals barely dropped at first. Ren changed their drop rule into first clear teaching reward. Crystals began falling from the first monsters. The system tried imposing a daily reward limit. Ren reclassified the rewards as teaching material. The crystals kept falling under the new label. When reward editing locked, Ren edited lessons instead. Identifying weaknesses now counted as completion. Non-combat players began leveling through useful survival tasks. Analysts, cooks, medics, builders, and scouts received assignments. Ren renamed Combat Tutorial into Civilization Tutorial. The shelter changed around the new definition. Cooking stations, farms, repair benches, and medical lessons opened. Humanity no longer depended only on fighters. Outside, the monsters began evolving. Weak points moved, armor thickened, and patrols tested routes. One commander began directing smaller monsters intelligently. Ren displayed enemy adaptation paths across the grid. The commander tried hiding its tactics. Ren marked it as an advanced strategy instructor. Ambush routes and commands became human-readable formation lessons. Humanity learned strategy from the monster leading the attack. The commander targeted Ren directly. Ren changed the target into highest threat simulation. A holographic Ren appeared and drew the commander away. The decoy exposed the commander's core without endangering Ren. Ren lowered the cost of combat copies. Combat clones became training holograms. Dozens of holographic instructors filled the shelter. They taught dodging, anatomy, shield rotation, and retreat. Then Ren saw another danger forming. People were waiting for his every command. The social panel showed await tutorial editor command. Ren changed it into independent survival assignment. Every player received a personal task based on ability. The shelter kept moving even when Ren looked away. That gave him time to study the deepest menu. The command console defined tutorials as controlled survival preparation. Ren used that definition on monsters outside range. He labeled it an urban survival lesson. The system accepted the new definition. The grid expanded down a street. The city district became tutorial territory. Trapped survivors received safe routes and supply markers. Monsters gained warning paths and weak point labels. People outside the shelter were rescued through Ren's edits. The lock blocked the next district. The system declared Ren's authority insufficient. Ren could not remove the lock directly. He created the missing prerequisite. Authority training exercise appeared as a new mission. It required defeating a disaster-class boss downtown. Ren did not cancel the brutal requirement. He turned it into a structured raid. Death became training knockout and pain stayed reduced. Routes, healer timings, barricades, and scouts formed together. Humanity defeated its first disaster-class boss. Ren received regional tutorial authority. The system answered with another restrictive patch. Regional expansion, rollback, and version control were locked. The crowd watched Ren's usual solution fail. Failed rollback created a new fork build tab. The system allowed one unstable tutorial fork. It warned collapse could isolate every player inside. Ren named the fork Humanity Survival Build. The shelter sky split into two grids. One belonged to the original Apocalypse tutorial. The other belonged to Ren. The original system sent suppression waves to crush the fork. Ren renamed every attack as stress test. Monster strikes fed data into his build. The shelter shook, held, and became stronger. Then the system stopped attacking the shelter. It attacked Ren directly. His name flickered as his player file collapsed. The system marked him as a manual correction error. Ren opened user management despite its hidden status. The system no longer knew how to classify him. He was instructor, participant, stabilizer, owner, and authority. Ren created a backup tutorial instructor profile. The deletion hit his original panel. The backup activated while his command console stayed open. A system message declared manual correction failed. There was no face, voice, or name behind it. But everyone understood something above the tutorial had noticed him. Ren tagged the message as unknown tutorial interference. The system refused to classify it. That refusal became the first true wall. The final wave of the first apocalypse phase arrived. Every remaining regional monster moved toward the shelter. Screens showed a storm of claws, wings, and armor. Ren changed Extinction Wave into Graduation Exam. Every human received a role and route. Every weak point, retreat path, and engagement window appeared. The battle lasted until the shelter sky stabilized. When it ended, the system rewarded only kills. Ren changed kills into contribution to survival. Healers, builders, scouts, cooks, medics, and rescuers received reward. Humanity grew as a civilization, not just fighters. A chest appeared before Ren. Only Ren could see tutorial authority fragment on it. Ren opened the chest, and every screen went dark. His skill evolved again inside the silence. Tutorial command console became tutorial route candidate. A door appeared inside the command console. It was not in the shelter or the city. It existed somewhere behind the system itself. Ren tried editing the door. For the first time, the command failed completely. The door revealed its title, Architect Layer. Ren stood among millions, grids, and rewritten skylaws. He could not open the door yet. But the door had appeared, and that was enough. Ren raised one hand toward the shelter sky. He wrote the first law of his forked build. No human dies during training without tutorial review. Every human panel updated under the new rule. Shelter access stabilized, and humanity survival build activated. The system recognized Ren as tutorial route candidate. The crowd looked up at his rule like a new sky. Deep behind the system wall, another message appeared. The tutorial editor had reached the door. The architect remained hidden beyond human sight. Ren had no meta authority yet. But the apocalypse system finally admitted the impossible truth. The mocked F-rank player was becoming its author.